Now let's start with the foundation, complex decision-making. Complex decision-making, what it really is. Let's get concrete. Complex decision-making is choosing among options when you have many variables, incomplete information, competing incentives, and real constraints: time, money, people, regulation. It's not picking the best spreadsheet row. It's balancing trade-offs under uncertainty and committing with a plan to adapt as reality pushes back. Why does AI struggle here? 2 reasons. First, incomplete data and shifting incentives. Models lean on historical patterns. High-stakes choices often live in foggy, novel contexts with politics, ethics, and evolving constraints. Second, objective functions are fuzzy. Maximize profit sounds simple until you weigh brand risk, regulatory heat, morale, and strategic optionality. That fuzziness is where human judgment lives, and current AI systems lack stable causal reasoning and value alignment to resolve it. The thing most people miss is the decision type matters more than the decision content. Before you solve, classify the decision. Is it reversible or irreversible? High or low stakes? Short or long horizon? Known knowns, known unknowns, or truly unknown? That classification sets your evidence bar, speed, and risk controls. If you remember nothing else, remember this: define the decision type first, then pick the method. Here's the mental model stack I use as my default lens. Base rates. Start with outside view statistics. What happens typically in situations like this? Don't anchor to your favorite anecdote. Anchor to reality's averages. Second-order effects. Ask, and then what? A price cut may lift conversions, but what does it do to perceived quality, sales cycle, support load, and partner margin? Reversibility. Bezos's two-way versus one-way doors. If it's reversible, bias for speed and learning. If it's one-way with real downside, slow down, widen inputs, and pre-commit to kill switches. Optionality. Protect the right to change your mind cheaply. Prefer options that keep more paths open unless you're paid well to lock in. Expected value. Multiply outcomes by their probabilities. You'll never know the exact odds, but rough EV beats gut feel in messy environments. Asymmetric bets. Hunt for small downside, large upside moves. In uncertainty, asymmetry pays your salary. Now here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Name the constraint explicitly. What's the real bottleneck? Capital, attention, capacity, trust, timing? Decisions fail because they optimize a local metric while starving the bottleneck. If the constraint is attention, your perfect plan that requires 10 new meetings is dead on arrival. Let me show you exactly how this plays out. Say a SaaS VP is deciding whether to expand into a new vertical. The naive path is market-size slides and a roadmap wishlist. The professional path starts with type, partially reversible, pilot, medium-high stakes, 12 to 18-month horizon, known unknowns around sales cycle and compliance. Base rates say vertical expansions often underperform first-year revenue targets. Second-order effects flag sales enablement, support complexity, and brand clarity risks. Reversibility suggests a bounded pilot with a defined exit. Optionality pushes us to partner before hiring a dedicated team. Expected value frames the target. Modest probability of big upside. Protect the downside with staged spend. Asymmetry says limit the initial cost. Chase logos that unlock future sales. Common mistakes to avoid. Optimizing a local metric. You crush CAC this quarter by slashing brand spend, then eat it in lower pipeline quality next quarter. You won the hill, lost the war. Premature precision. You build a 40-tab model to feel safe. The inputs are guesses. Better to get rough base rates, run a pilot, and update. Decision by default. We'll revisit next quarter is still a decision with hidden costs. Always choose a default path deliberately. One narrative only. If your recommendation has no serious counterfactual, you're selling, not thinking. Red team your own idea. How do you practice? Use a decision log. For every meaningful choice, record type, constraint, options, expected value ranges, pre-mortem risks, and your kill criteria. Then revisit outcomes and update. Your priors. This is how your judgment compounds. The reason this works is that leaders don't just want answers. They want clarity, speed, and safety. When you classify the decision, show your model stack, and right-size the risk, you become the person who makes hard calls feel manageable. Now let's turn that judgment into invoices. Monetizing complex decision-making. Now let's turn sharp decisions into cash. 3 clean lanes pay for judgment. strategy consulting, deal advisory, and risk architecture. Strategy consultants get hired when leadership is stuck between big bets, market entry, pricing shifts, portfolio cuts. Deal advisors step in when the downside is real, acquisitions, partnerships, divestitures. Risk architects redesign exposure, operational, regulatory, reputational, so growth isn't fragile. The common thread is simple. These are make-or-break choices with asymmetric outcomes. That's why owners pay premiums. Package it so buyers get it fast. Sell the decision, not the deck. Offer. Help choose among high-stakes options, quantify upside/downside, and run a low-risk path with clear kill switches. That's the spine. Then add artifacts that signal rigor. Decision memos with assumptions and trade-offs, counterfactuals comparing real alternatives, and a red team stress test. These aren't busy work. They lower perceived risk and raise price tolerance. Pricing matters. Floor plus success fee is the default. Charge a non-refundable base to cover discovery, modeling, and facilitation. Then tie a contingent component to the value delta. Avoided loss, added EBITDA, revenue lift, cost to serve reduction, or cycle time compression. Anchor the upside to a credible base rate and your pilot's measurable metrics. If the decision prevents a likely $1 million mistake, a 10 to 20% success fee on the avoided loss can be justified. If it adds $2 million in EBITDA, a 5 to 10% share of uplift beats hourly forever when measurement is clean. Let me show you exactly how to frame an engagement. Use this case structure in plain English. Context, options, costs, recommendation. Context. Your churn jumped from 6% to 9% in 2 quarters. Expansion revenue is masking decay. Options. Freeze acquisition to focus on retention, double down on new logos, or redesign onboarding for mid-market while tightening discounting. Costs. Freezing acquisition saves cash but risks pipeline. Doubling down fuels top line but deepens churn. Onboarding redesign requires cross-functional work but targets the root loop. Recommendation. Run a 6-week onboarding pilot for the highest churn cohort with a pricing floor of $35,000 plus a success fee tied to 90-day retention lift. Kill switch if leading indicators don't move by week 3. The game changer nobody talks about is the counterfactual packet. Package your top 2 discarded options with the reasons they lost. Key risks, dependency map, and what would need to be true for them to win. Why it works. It shows you thought broadly, and it lets leadership reverse later without shame if conditions change. That perceived optionality is valuable. Now here's where most people mess up. They sell advice as a PDF. Don't. Sell a decision process with implementation scaffolding. Offer a rapid decision lab. 2 weeks, 3 workshops. Day 1, classify the decision type, define outcomes, and surface constraints. Day 3, build options and premortems. Day 10, recommendation with pilot plan, metrics, and governance. You include a facilitation kit, decision log template, and a stakeholder briefing script for the exec sponsor. The deliverable is momentum, not slides. For enterprise buyers, add a red team review. Bring in an independent skeptic, contractor, or trusted partner to attack your recommendation for an hour. Capture the risks, adjust your plan, and attach the transcript or summary notes. It's a low-cost way to buy credibility and surface hidden assumptions. You can start smaller. Offer a make-or-break decision sprint for stalled initiatives. Pricing, hiring, tooling, vendor selection. Price it at $7, $15K floor with a 1 to 3% success kicker on the measurable outcome. If the decision is about avoiding a vendor lock-in with hidden switching costs, peg the fee to the avoided TCO over a year. Finally, your marketing. Led with outcomes. We help CEOs choose under uncertainty, avoid 7-figure mistakes, and capture asymmetric wins. Add 2 one-page case snapshots showing the context, the choice, the pilot result, and the value delta. Include 1 microstory where a client changed course because a red team insight exposed a hidden constraint. The reason this sells is that you're making the invisible, judgment quality, visible and safe. And when decisions feel safer, budgets get bigger. Implementation, the decide framework. You've got the judgment, now make it repeatable. Use decide, define, establish, collect, identify, decide, execute. It turns foggy choices into controlled experiments leaders can trust and pay for. Define the decision. Before you touch data, classify it. Is this reversible or irreversible? What are the stakes? What's the time horizon? Who owns the outcome? Write one crisp prompt. We're choosing X versus Y under Z constraint by date. Call out the primary bottleneck: capital, capacity, attention, trust, or timing. This stops local metric games and sets the pace. If it's reversible, speed and learning beat polish. If it's one way, widen inputs, slow down, and pre-commit kill criteria. Establish outcomes. Success isn't better. It's specific. Name the target metric, guardrails, and constraints. Lift 90-day retention from 82% to 88% within 1 quarter. Do not raise average handle time above 5 minutes. Cap spend at $60,000. Maintain NPS plus or -2. Add a no-harm clause. What must not get worse? Clarify the time window for judging. This is your scoreboard and your brake pedal. Collect signals. Don't drown in dashboards. Pull base rates from comparable decisions, leading indicators you can move fast, and adversarial inputs. Ask, what would a smart skeptic say? Get one internal critic and one external voice to list failure modes. Catalog assumptions as testable statements. If a number is a guess, label it as a guess. Use AI to gather ranges and priors. You own the judgment on relevance. Identify options. Expand, then contract. Generate at least 4: status quo, conservative tweak, bold swing, and a cheap probe. Include a no-decision baseline so you can compare against doing nothing. For each option, sketch costs, dependencies, and a simple causal loop. If we push here, where does pressure pop out? Rank by asymmetry. Small downside, large upside wins. Kill anything that starves the primary constraint. Decide and de-risk. Run a pre-mortem. 6 weeks later, this failed. Why? Capture the top 5 risks, then add countermeasures and kill switches. Design an 80-20 pilot with a tight scope, a small budget, and fast feedback. Pre-commit to the threshold that triggers stop, continue, or scale. If the decision is truly one way, stage it. Reversible steps first, irreversible last. Execute and learn. Build a decision memo. Context, decision type, outcomes, options, recommendation, pilot plan, guardrails, kill criteria, owner. Share it with stakeholders using a brief script that hits why now, how we'll keep risk small, and what we'll watch. Log the decision in a simple tracker. Date, assumptions, metrics, outcome. Do an after-action review at the checkpoint. What surprised us? What did we learn? What do we update? This is how your judgment compounds. Here's a live example. Decision. Switch pricing from seats to usage for mid-market customers. Define. Partially reversible via grandfathering. Medium high stakes. 90-day pilot horizon. Bottleneck is sales enablement capacity. Establish outcomes. Raise average revenue per account by 12% with churn less than or equal to plus 0.5%. Sales cycle less than or equal to plus 10%. Implementation cost less than or equal to $40,000. Collect signals. Base rates say usage pricing can lift ARPA, but often lengthens cycles. Leading indicators are pilot acceptance rate, win rate shift, and discount frequency. Adversarial input warns of bill shock backlash. Identify options. Keep seats with higher tiers. Hybrid plan with usage add-ons. Full usage for new logos only. Limited cohort test. Decide and de-risk. Choose hybrid for a 40-account cohort. Pre-mortem highlights messaging confusion and finance edge cases. Kill switch if discount rate jumps 30% or pilot acceptance drops below 50% by week 3. Execute and learn. Run enablement, instrument leading indicators, review in week 2 and 5, and decide to expand, iterate, or stop. Now here's where most people mess up. They treat decide like paperwork. It's not. It's velocity with guardrails. The point isn't a perfect memo. It's faster learning with smaller explosions. Another trap, overfitting the pilot. If your test environment doesn't stress the real bottleneck, your result won't transfer. Always design pilots that hit the constraint you identified. Quick win you can do today. Run your next high-stakes choice through Decide in 30 minutes. Set a timer. 10 minutes to define and establish. 10 to collect and identify. 10 to decide and design a pilot. Write the one-page memo and share it. You'll feel the relief of clarity immediately. The reason this framework works is it turns amorphous strategy into observable commitments. What we're doing, why, how we'll stop if it's wrong, and what success looks like. Leaders buy that clarity because it lowers regret risk. Once you can decide well on a loop, you multiply the payoff with people. Emotional intelligence, why it's a wealth multiplier. Once decisions are sharp, the next multiplier is people. Poor emotional intelligence quietly kills profit. Deals stall, teams churn, margins evaporate in rework and politics. I've watched smart plans die because one stakeholder felt blindsided. The cost, longer cycles, hidden resistance, and talent flight. Flip it and EI becomes a revenue engine, faster agreements, cleaner execution, compounding loyalty. Let's define it properly. Emotional intelligence isn't being nice. It's accurate perception, self-regulation, empathy, and strategic rapport. Perception accuracy is reading the room, tone, timing, power, and subtext, so you don't step on landmines. Regulation is managing your state under pressure, so you respond, not react. Empathy is understanding others' motives and constraints without fusing with them. Strategic rapport is aligning language, pacing, and frames to move a conversation toward commitment. This clicked for me when I realized leaders don't buy tasks. They buy certainty, safety, and status. Why it pays: people decide emotionally, then justify logically. In high-stakes settings, they scan for three needs: certainty the plan will work, safety that failure won't crush them, and status for championing it. Meet those needs explicitly and perceived risk drops while ownership rises. That's pricing power. Now, the thing most people miss: niceness isn't influence. Saying yes to every request just creates vague agreements and scope creep. Influence is guiding toward clear decisions, surfacing conflict early, and converting tension into progress. The game changer nobody talks about is naming the real fear in the room, cleanly and without drama. I'm hearing a concern that if we push this pilot and it stalls, sales will take the blame. Let's build a guardrail that protects quota. You'll feel the resistance drop. Here's how to apply it. Use a simple EI loop. Observe, label, map the need, respond. Observe, notice language shifts, micro delays, hedging. Label, it sounds like timing is the main worry. Map the need. Is this about certainty, safety, or status? Respond with the right lever. If it's certainty, offer evidence, pilots, and leading indicators. If it's safety, add reversible steps, clear kill switches, and shared risk. If it's status, frame wins they can own. Visibility, narrative, and recognition for the champion. Here's a quick example. A CFO is stonewalling your retention pilot. Their words: let's revisit next quarter. Translation: safety risk. You respond: totally fair to minimize disruption. Let's constrain this to 50 accounts, cap spend at $20,000, and if leading indicators don't move by week 2, we'll shut it down, no impact to targets. You'll have a clean, we tested responsibly story. That's safety plus status in one move. Common mistakes to avoid: flooding with logic when emotions are driving the stall. Lead with acknowledgement, then data. Solving the wrong need. You give more proof when they want protection. You add guardrails when they need recognition. Mirroring anxiety. If they escalate, you slow your cadence and narrow the ask. Practice with micro-reps. In your next tough conversation, run the 30-second EI test. Identify the dominant need: certainty, safety, or status, and make one sentence that meets it. Certainty. Here are the 2 leading indicators we'll track weekly. Safety. This is fully reversible by Friday. Status. I'll make sure you're credited in the exec update. Do that consistently and watch cycle times drop. Negotiation is where EI hits the P&L, map power, interests, and constraints. Know each party's BATNA and non-negotiables. Shape offers to expand the pie while protecting face. A small concession, framed as respect, can unlock a bigger trade on your priority. And use silence. Ask a clean question, then stop. People reveal needs when given space. That's the difference between soft skills, theater, and revenue movement. If you remember nothing else, remember this. High earnings conversations are emotional engineering. You're de-risking the human side so the logic can land. That's why EI is a wealth multiplier. It speeds decisions, preserves margins, and turns clients into advocates. Now we'll put that influence to work on systems, so local wins don't break the business. Monetizing emotional intelligence. You've got the read on humans. Now let's turn it into revenue. There are 3 high-paying lanes where EI converts directly to cash: negotiation, executive coaching, and retention strategy. Negotiation gets paid because stalled deals bleed pipeline value every week. Coaching converts because leaders buy clarity and composure under pressure. Retention strategy gets premium retainers because keeping customers and talent is cheaper and faster than replacing them. Package each as an outcome, not a calendar block. Start with negotiation. Offer. We unstick high-value deals in 21 days. Scope a single stuck opportunity with a clear dollar value. Your process is simple and visible. Diagnose power, interests, and constraints. Map BATNAs. Script moves. Rehearse. Then run the conversation with a fallback plan. The artifact set matters. A negotiation playbook, custom leader scripts, a give-get matrix, and a post-call debrief with next move trees. Price it with a floor plus win-based fee. Say $7, 20K base, plus 1 to 3% of the closed amount or uplift versus the current offer. Anchor to the time value. Every week of delay decays expected value. Now executive coaching. Sell outcomes executives will happily expense. Decision speed, conflict conversion, and board-ready communication. Offer. 90-day clarity sprint for revenue leaders. Deliver a cadence. Weekly 50-minute sessions plus 2 on-demand crisis calls. Artifacts include a trigger-to-response map for pressure moments, a leader messaging toolkit, and a negotiation rehearsal library. Price is a premium retainer, not hourly, $4, 12K per month depending on access and scope. Tie a small success bonus to a concrete outcome. Faster cycle times, higher close rates, or specific stakeholder wins. You're not a therapist. You're a force multiplier for moments that move dollars. Retention strategy is where EI shows its ROI fast. Offer. Fix the attrition bleed. Start with 2 discovery calls to read the power map. Who really loses if churn stays high, and surface status threats that block change. Process. Run interviews with customers and frontline staff. Code the themes into certainty, safety, and status gaps, then design interventions that meet those needs in sequence. Deliverables, a churn playbook, leader scripts for renewal calls, a feedback cadence, and a dashboard of leading indicators, warning signals before the cancel. Price a phased engagement, diagnostic, pilot, scale. Take a share of savings or uplift where you can credibly measure it. Here's the 30-second EI test in action. In a renewal call, the champion goes quiet after procurement's email. Identify the need. If it's certainty, offer a pilot extension with KPIs and a midterm success review. If it's safety, add a shared risk clause and an easy opt-out. If it's status, frame the renewal as their initiative. Your revamp cut onboarding time by 22%. Let's put your team's name on the playbook. That one sentence is the difference between "we'll think about it" and a signed DocuSign. Your process template across all 3 lanes is the same. Diagnose, map, script, rehearse, execute, debrief. Diagnose the human constraints. Map power and BATNAs. Script the first 3 exchanges with if-then branches. Rehearse out loud, record and tighten. Execute with pacing, short sentences, clean questions, calibrated pauses. Debrief immediately, update the script, and roll the next move. Clients pay for the feeling that the path is controlled. Let me show you a clean offer example. Close the stalled deal. Context. $1.2 million annual contract stuck at legal and procurement for 8 weeks. Scope. 10 business days. Deliverables. Power map, BATNA sheet, objection handling scripts, executive escalation email, and a concession ledger with preset trade-offs. Price. $12,000 base plus 2% of the closed ARR above $900,000. Kill switch. If the internal champion won't grant senior access by day 3, pause and refund half the base. Why it sells. Low downside, clear upside, visible plan. Common mistakes that kill EI monetization. Selling soft skills sessions with no tie to money, flooding leaders with generic advice, and skipping rehearsals. Avoid them by tying every artifact to a moment that moves dollars. A script for the tough call, a cadence that reduces churn, a message that wins budget. And rehearse. Unpracticed words collapse under pressure. 2 microstories. A VP couldn't get her pricing pilot approved. We reframed for safety, reversible steps, explicit kill switch, and protected quota, and status. She'd present the pilot as her initiative in the exec meeting. Approved in 24 hours. Another client's enterprise renewal stalled at an over-budget objection. We mapped procurement's BATNA, traded a modest discount for a 3-year term, and a case study with logo usage. Uplift versus last year, 18%. Final packaging move. Give executives language they can steal. Offer a 1-page leader scripts. Pack: discovery, objection handling, escalation, and board updates. It's a cheat code. It travels inside the org, credits you, and seeds your next contract. If you remember nothing else, remember this. EI prints money when it's operationalized into decisions, scripts, and cadences tied to measurable outcomes. Priced by the value of movement, deals closed, churn reduced, conflict converted. That's how influence turns into income. Systems thinking, the new financial modeling. Now that conversations move money, make sure the moves don't backfire. Businesses don't act like neat spreadsheets. They act like interacting loops. Systems thinking is the lens that shows you those loops, stocks and flows, reinforcing and balancing feedback, delays, and leverage points, so you can change behavior without creating new fires.